Okay, everybody, welcome to Aligning with Success. I'm your host again, Mike DiMuccio, and we have a very special guest tonight who hosts his own call. I'm hopefully you're plugged into every Monday mornings. That's Dave Rolfe, Royal Diamond Wellness Consultant from Dave. Are you on the West Coast now, right? You bounced around a few times.
San Rafael, California.
Okay, cool. Nice place to be and to
Yeah.
live. How many of you have been on one of Dave's calls or watched some of the playbacks on Dave?
Yep.
Okay, so you know Dave knows the business from the business point of view and is really good at helping us to understand fundamental concepts, which, you don't make millions of dollars in network marketing by accident. You've got to understand something. And why is it then, in fact, that's another attribute of the call that Richard talked about. He likes to point out, hey, maybe about 1%, not even 1% of the population who join network marketing will make the big bucks. But do you want to be one of the 99%ers or one of the 1%ers? In other words, there's still the probability or the possibility for somebody who does take it at heart and do what it takes, because most people end up quitting or becoming, consumers, which is perfectly fine. It supports the work we do, the industry we're creating, the income possibilities and so forth, no different than most of the free enterprise world out there today. I don't know what the stats are for success in business at large, but I'm sure they're not very far away from success in business in sales of any sort, of any kind, network marketing included. So he does talk about some of the things that it takes and to be one of the 1%ers. And I think that's really important. I think that's what Dave covers in a lot of his material is what it takes to actually learn and apply the basics, learn the game, learn how to play the game. And I tell you, it's not obvious, even to people who've been in the business for a long time. And the way to know that for certainty is to ask them, describe the business, and you'll find them not having an easy time trying to describe the business. What is the business we're in? And so again, we were talking about Richard Brook, how important is it for our CEO to be interfacing with him? I think it's a good thing. Richard is a fellow who has been on both sides of the coin of the network marketing world, both as a business owner and as a network marketer, where he actually started as a network marketer, then ended up owning two companies at one point, has worked with the DSA. And it tells an interesting story on this video that I'm referring to about him meeting with one of the activists who is politically active in trying to thwart network marketing as an industry with respect to the federal government and so forth. She's one of the biggest critics, as he puts out. And he said he had lunch with her and he asked her a fundamental question, because the hoops that they ask network marketers to jump through in order to be able to talk about their business and their business opportunity is excessive by any stretch. And so he asked her, he says he thinks he doesn't know for sure, but he thinks he may have gotten to her a little bit with this question. He said, you have a daughter. What does she dream? What's her dream? What does she love to do? Dance. Does it cost money to send her to dance? Yeah, it sure does. Do you expect her to make any more money than it's costing you? No. Do you ever tell your daughter what the statistics are? The probability, do you ever give her the statistics of how unlikely it is for her to experience success as a dancer? Of course, she says no. So it's okay. But do you promote, do you endorse and encourage her to go after her dreams, or do you? Well, of course, yeah. So it's okay to do that, right? You're not expecting that person to make more money than you're spending, and you don't discourage. You encourage them to go after it, even though the probability of them ever succeeding in that capacity is very, very low. Well, how is that any different than what we do? And of course, it isn't. Do network marketers all have a return on investment? Absolutely. Is it always financial? Not necessarily. Some people just want to be part of the game. Some people just, why does anybody buy a lottery ticket? Do you actually think people expect to win? Of the majority of people who buy a lottery ticket that contribute to the millions of dollars that are being given away every week, how many of those people who bought a lottery ticket actually expect to win? And how long have they been buying a lottery ticket and not winning? Think about
I
it.
buy them every week. I expect to win, Michael.
That's good. You're wired correctly. You expect to win because you are a winner. And
Yeah.
that's the distinction. You know, it's not to take away the opportunity from people because they do or they don't expect to win. We need opportunities for people to sort themselves out and to rise or to the challenge. So I have no problem with failure because it's part of the exercise of learning how to win and reorienting our mind. Anyways, so let me just share some of this. And Dave, I want to give you the floor. But before I do, this might be something that we can talk about. We did a couple of calls last couple of weeks where we went over identifying the to-dos, the things that absolutely have to hit your I must do at least something on this list once a day in order for me to progress towards the realization of my goals of my Nikken business. And so we gave people a little bit of time to think about it. They jumped in and they started sharing that information. So let me just see if I got the question right. It was that question. Okay, anyway, so here's the answers that we got. Follow-up daily, or at least weekly, a certain number per week. So clearly, if you're not following up, how are you going to get to a conclusion on anybody you've engaged with this process? So follow-ups got to be a daily action. It's got to be up on that list of things that I must do at least one of these things every day, or I'm not really intending to succeed. So it's about living intentionally where our business is concerned. Prospecting or for interest. So prospecting has got to be a daily thing, something that we're doing on a daily basis, or we're not intending to succeed. Contacting and inviting, which is different than prospecting, because now you're actually engaging the contact. So there's prospecting mechanisms, and then there's your method to actually contact and invite somebody into the process. But yeah, if you're not inviting somebody to learn about Nikken at least every day or at least every week, then this is a hobby. This is not a business. One of the things that was added to the list was do a demo. Now, this has become something more known to us recently because of the success of Leo's team. One of the things that Leo's team seems to be having as a distinction is those demos, that opportunity to present people face to face with an experience. And that experience seems to be one of the delineating factors as to why somebody might actually get excited and get involved. So that could be a prospecting activity. That could also be a way of inviting somebody into the process, is to engage them in a demo to pique their interest in studying Nikken and learning more about Nikken. So doing a daily demo. And what I love about that process is you don't have to be a salesperson to learn how to do demos. So we can teach people how to do demos. We're not necessarily good at teaching people how to sell. And that's one of the things that I remember often talking about Nikken as a great distinction in network marketing. Most of the products out there in network marketing are not products you can demo. They're products that people have to try and get a sense about, especially if it's a nutritional or something like that. Whereas when you can do a powerful demo and instantaneously show somebody there is a difference, they may be in disbelief, but that disbelief serves you because it causes a reaction, and a reaction is what leads them to being more interested in the information. So another item was add to your contact list. Okay, so again, that's part of that prospecting process. If we're not adding to our list, we're not going to have people to talk to. And we talked about various ways that people can add to their list, from referrals to people you meet through social media exchanges, which Leo gave us a little bit of an exercise on how he engages in conversations on his Facebook by putting something that might pique somebody's interest, like having his coffee, reading his book, and posting that, and that creates an engagement, which he then follows up. If somebody likes or comments, he's in there like Flynn. For those of you who don't know what that means, Errol Flynn was an amazing, famous actor back in the day, and he used to be like a swashbuckler. And he would always swing into the scene and be on his best game, and that was called, in like Flynn. Anyway, never mind, I digress. Finally, tool up. This was a good comment. Be prepared to meet new prospects. So now that's not something that you do daily, as in tooling up, but it could be. I mean, if you're watching the videos that I produce or the videos that Dave produces, those are tools to help you acquire an awareness that you can then transfer or translate into action that could actually increase your probability of creating interest and making successful presentations. So those are some of the things that were on our list of being intentional with your business. And if you haven't got those on your list, definitely they have to be in the top 10 for sure. And of course, all of them, we ran out of time, but all of them relate to the same thing. It's that interaction with people, specifically new people, on a daily/weekly basis. Because if that's not happening, if you don't have anybody coming into the pipeline, you're not going to have anybody coming out of the pipeline. So that was that. And let me quickly cover some of these bullets that Richard had shared on his thing, and then we'll get Dave to give us some of his perspective on all of this. And thanks again, Dave, for being a part of this call. You're a valuable asset to Niken, and I always appreciate Dave and I. You guys don't know, we kind of hang out, him and I. Obviously not in person because he's in California, I'm in Toronto, but we talk every now and then, probably weekly actually, by Zoom, and just share our thoughts and our strategies and help to influence the direction the company is going when we get our opportunity to share with Luis. I've got a couple of hands up. Mary Ellen, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do too.
Two things. First of all, you mentioned that you carry a bag with you, your demo bag. What products do you have in your demo bag?
I have insoles, Mag Duo. I still have one of those old testers, which I'd like to suggest maybe you look online to find. They do exist. I did actually purchase one from Amazon, a little magnetic tester that you can use to show people that the magnetic field passes through their body. I have the power chip. I have the bracelet and or the necklace, usually both, the power band. And I'll have at least a knee wrap so that they can see the Kinkletherm technology and I can use that. Let's see, what else do I carry? The MagFlex. I always have the MagFlex. The stuff that's small and easy to apply and do demos with. Now I see some of the demos that Leo does to show the effect. Yeah, the sport bottle. That's another one I carry, but I actually carry that because I drink from it and they see that. The lemon test that Leo does, you can actually add to that. It's just a little bottle that you buy with squeezed lemon juice and then a teaspoon that you can, plastic spoon, whatever you want to use. So you can do that lemon test. That's a pretty cool demo. I don't carry that, but I think I will start carrying that because I think that's a really cool demo, especially with the knee wrap if you're trying to show people. So basically the magnetics is a primary focus, something that I can do a balance test or a strength test with. And remember, I'm not there to sell them a pair of insoles. In fact, when they ask me what the price is, I usually tell them, I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to look it up, but I didn't come here to sell you a pair of insoles. Just want to know, do I have your attention? Do I have your interest? And so they're surprised by that response because then they know, okay, he's not here schlepping products. He's here to introduce something, a bigger concept. And that's how I've always done it. And it's how I encourage others to do it. So hopefully, let's see. I also carry promotional materials. So I always have something that I'm going to leave behind, always. So you might want to have some tools that you're going to leave behind that make it easy for them to keep it on their desk or wherever it is that you've met with them so that they're seeing what you were talking about. They can reflect on it.
Mhm.
Also, I have a message, I will send them a text message post meeting to review something that may have come up through the conversation. I may have discovered something about them that I feel a video that I've learned about would be really good for them to watch. Again, one of the reasons why tooling up is a daily thing, because if you're familiar with the tools that are there, it's like having a tool pouch and not knowing what the tools are for. That would be useless. But having a nice tool pouch with some, access to tools where you can decide which one's best after that conversation as a follow-up is a great way to start the follow-up process. Barb.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead, Marion.
I had an interesting experience 23 years ago when we first got started. There was somebody I really wanted to recruit, and we went through the process, and she gave me a firm but friendly no, this is not for me. And so I left it alone. And now that I'm starting again, I said to her, I know this isn't for you, but would you be willing to watch a video to see who you might be able to refer me to? And she said she would do that, and gave me a referral who I've contacted and might be very good. But in the process of watching A Better Way, she said, I know you've got that sleep system. I might want a pillow. And I said, okay. And then we had a further discussion. Now she's considering a sleep system and signing up as a consultant.
Yeah,
So,
that's fantastic. And that was something that came up from last week's call with Leo, where he mentioned he usually doesn't pitch the person directly. He says, you might know somebody, or who do you know that has back problems this way? So he goes around that person to create the interest in that person. And what do you say? Who may like to retire in the next 3 to 5 years. And that question brings up yeah, hello, me. So he does it in a roundabout way. Not a bad approach. Works. Barb, you have your hand up.
Yes, a couple of things, Mike. I have a meeting tomorrow with somebody that was the indirect approach. And my kit has a couple of pockets on the side, and I have the same things in my kit that you have in yours. But on the side pockets, before I leave, I put in 2 different brands of bottled water. And in the middle pocket, I put the testing kit, so that if they're really curious about the water, I can show them the difference between acid and alkaline water. And of course, my water bottle's with me, so I can use it to show the change between acid and alkaline. And I have a largemouth glass inside the kit that I can show them about the absorption of chlorine. But everything else that you have in your kit is in mine. And occasionally I put in the grounding pad as well. But I wanted to mention the group that's in Hawaii. Richard Bliss Brook met with them for 2 hours on Saturday, and he edified Luis. And he also made the comment that it's been a very long time since he has felt the passion and energy of a group such as the group in Nikan that were there. So it would be worthwhile inviting them to give you the nuggets that he shared with them when they get back.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yep.
We'll do that. Okay. Actually, speaking of nuggets, and then I want to just take the next 2 minutes to show you what I came up with in terms of takeaways from this presentation. So let me share screen there. Okay. So all we have to do is be transparent, ethical, honest, and servant leaders. Tell the truth. Most people quit. You'll probably quit. He likes to say that about to people. Be responsible. Success requires consistent expression of the 11 beliefs. So I'm going to share what those are. Consistency, work, investment, coaching, resiliency. I don't know what to tell you about the use the IDS. I think we'll get to that. Be compliant. And there's ways to be compliant. By the way, this video, he talks about how legal it is to talk about our opportunity and to talk about recruitment and being somebody who's recruiting people who recruits people. Like recruit people who recruit people is the emphasis. You want to increase your customer base. In fact, it was an interesting presentation because he was talking to the CEOs of corporations, and he was basically saying, you guys are always looking for the bottom line. You're always looking to increase sales. And I don't, and he doesn't encourage, and Dave, I know Rolfe here on this call, does not encourage specials. He says, what happens when you're, free shipping till August 26th is over? Does that mean the opportunity's not as good anymore? So he doesn't encourage increasing sales by those types of antics. He believes you want to increase sales, increase the number of people who are building the business. They will find the customers. So you want to increase the customers, which will increase the sales, increase the sales force. And that's always the emphasis he makes. And I think that's an emphasis that we need to recommit to in order to understand the dynamics of what drives the business. And if you've listened to anything Dave Rolfe's been doing, you'll understand that's a very strong point that he makes. Okay, let people make their own decisions. Good. Did you see the switch? I just want to make sure you're able to see the transition. Are you seeing success is simple, believing it, not so much? You guys seen that? Okay, good. Fall in love with the product authentically. He says this is a business that you can't fake it. Like you can't be driving into the back of a BMW dealership in your Mercedes and expecting to sell. In the automotive industry, other businesses, that's true, but not in ours. Be an authentic user of the products. Document your story on video in about 1 minute. So he says, take the time to actually write it. You want to compare. This is your business. I mean, your business doesn't ask a lot of you, but to have a compelling story that is authentically yours and actually sounds interesting. And if it's not interesting to your children or to friends, it's not going to be interesting to prospects. So test it. So get good at this. This is important. Your story is what you sell every day. Ask people to watch your story. What's the best prospecting video? What's the best what do you think it is? Your story. So create one and then send it and ask people to watch it. Would you mind watching this and see if you can relate to it, or if you know somebody who can relate to it? How simple is that? Ask people to watch your story video if they want to know more. Show people a presentation, especially a demo. Enroll those that are ready. Now here's something. Enroll 100 people in 24 months. Look at the plan, the picture in his mind that he's painting for you. He's not saying 20 people in 20 days, which maybe half of 1% of people actually can possibly do, especially if they're new. Very rare. But if you have an ethic of introducing people regularly, then you're going to end up growing a team and the numbers will take care of themselves. Enrolling 100 people in 24 months, that's 3 to 4 a month. Get this, 60 to 80 of them will quit. So you're already being told up front, hey, don't sweat the small stuff. They're going to quit. 20 to 40 will be your best customers, even though they may have intended to be your best business partners. 10 will build long-term, and get this, 1 to 3 will build your empire. Dave, are these numbers not exactly true? Yeah, thumbs up. Absolutely. It is what it is, guys. It's just a business. Treat it like a business. If you are a network marketer, you are not only selling the product, you are selling the income option. I really like that line, income option. We used to always say income opportunity, but I kind of like the income option. Dave, are you, okay, we'll get to you in a sec. So keep that in mind. Here are the 11 beliefs. I am worth it. Take a screen capture of this. Because, if you don't think you're worth it, you're not going to do what it takes. You're worth it. It works. Obviously it works. There's people who've made it work, but acknowledge that. It is a contribution and a gift to others. If you don't believe that, then you haven't studied this well enough. It has to be something in your mind and something you hold in your heart as a belief that it is a gift and a contribution to others. So you're not shy about offering it. It can be done anywhere and anytime, super part-time. Yeah, most people who've done this business and have grown their organizations have done it overtime, part-time. It is an honorable profession. Again, If you don't see it as such, you're going to have a tough time sharing this with people who you consider are honorable people. So what do you got to do to figure that out? Study. Listen to some of these people, myself, Dave, the Richard Brooks, be a student and learn what this profession looks like when it's done honorably. It is legal. The work is worth it. It is the simplest and easiest way for anyone to build wealth without substantial investments and decades of growth. Boy, isn't that the truth? I don't know how many ways you've tried, but this sure is the simplest way I've tried, and it has worked. You can build it once and get paid forever. I'm proof of that. Dave Rolfe here's proof of that. We're still generating an income from business that we started and really focused on in the early days. For me, 30 years, for Dave, at least that. You can build a customer base all over the world from your phone. Hey, not a bad way to live, no matter where you are, whether you're on vacation in Hawaii or whatever, you're in business. So these are fundamentals. And I think that's the key that we need to remind ourselves of and hold as beliefs. So if you're not developing your strength and your conviction of that, you're not going to be very comfortable about sharing this as a business opportunity, which is why people resort to the products, because they've not yet gotten comfortable with the income option. So Dave, talk to us.
That's a hard act to follow, Michael, because you
not at
covered
all.
everything there is to know. I'm going to give an analogy, though, that I think is very important. Before I do that, everything that I know is on daverolfe.com. The whole purpose of that website is to give you the ideas of what you need to know and understand. How you apply it, how you utilize it, that's up to you and your mentor, your coach, your partner, whatever the case may be. But in 1990 to 93, actually, I left Nikon because Nikon was confronting a class action suit that some distributor initiated, and a guy by the name of Ted Zablotsky and a top distributor to take control. It was a political move. It was a move to take control of Nikon's technology that this guy brought over, and et cetera, et cetera. Nikon offered everybody their money back. Outstanding. So I didn't think Nikon was going to be around longer, and I left the business in the wintertime or the spring, actually, January of 1992. And I think wasn't that when Canada was starting, Michael?
That's right. That's when I first met you, actually, at the Humans Being More, then called Silver Training here in Toronto. The first month, January of 92.
Yeah. Now, I went off and got into the wireless digital business, which then became the cell phone industry, and the third player called a company called Sprint. And we developed some properties that got sold to Sprint. They took over the properties that we developed. And in the process, we were trying to explain digital communications to the public. And how digital worked versus analog. Analog was the old phone. You get on that, it was called analog technology. Michael probably knows this. And the digital was a whole different way of doing that. So we developed this character called Digital. And we produced a movie. And the movie was called It's a Digital World. And we rented the back lot of Universal Studios. And we hired a producer and a director, and we had hundreds of extras and executive producers. Those are the guys that are putting up the money. They're the ones taking the whole risk. The rest of them are just in there. And one of our lead actresses, who is now world famous, was Jessica Biel. And everybody knows Jessica Biel and her fame. And she started out on our little movie called It's a Digital World. And I remember David Letterman had her on the show, and he called me. Well, he didn't call me up, but he had his staff call me up and said, "Do you have a copy of that movie? We want to feature it on our show, on Tonight Show," or whatever it was at that time, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the end of this whole dissertation was that whole scene, that movie had to be scripted from the beginning to the end, and it was put on what we called storyboards. So we had the first picture. Here's a picture of the first scene. Here's a picture of the second scene. I'm in the movie, so I got a part in the movie with my partner in a couple of spots, and we had music, and we had musicals, and we had bands, and it was all storyboarded. And so it's like you call that the choreography of a play or a movie or a musical or however you want to call it. But why I'm saying that is because Nikan needs to be storyboarded for you. You need to storyboard your involvement. Now, like Michael, I was very successful in doing this business. I went off and did other things, was very successful. I retired when I was 49 years old and said, you know, and I took off 20 years of, you know, I was collecting these huge royalty checks and traveling all over the world and having a really good time and buying real estate and flipping it and remodeling it, doing all that good stuff that everybody does that has a little bit of cash. And then I decided to come back for other reasons and, you know, started to look at the one thing I knew that was missing. See, I don't think there's any such thing as failure. All I know is there's just a lack of doing what you're supposed to do and enough of it. And if you put those pieces of the puzzle together, storyboard out where you're going with this, everything that Michael said is absolutely true. I remember being on a plane and I had in my briefcase going to an event, I forgot, probably a Team Diamond event. I had Mag Boys and Mag Steps. The lady in front of me gets up grimacing, you know, oh God, you know. So, okay, that was a sign. There was a big neon sign said, this woman is grimacing, I should do something. So I said, are you okay? And she said, well, it was a past polio situation. It's kind of got to me. And I said, hey, I've got something. Why don't you roll these on your back for a while and let's see what happens. So she rolls them on her back, and about an hour later, she gets up, turns around me and says, God, this is great, but I'm not interested in doing another network marketing business, but I'd like to buy your product. And I had Mag Steps and that. She gave me $100 bill. I gave the two products. I've given people necklaces on planes. I've sold beds, sleep systems. I can't tell you the number of transactions simply by being prepared, storyboard. In other words, I knew what to do if the situation came up. And so, you know, yeah, you should have a product bag. But it's like I was a Boy Scout. So what did I learn in the Boy Scouts? Be prepared. And now I had a lot of sales experience in corporate America. And I was trained very heavily in Yellow Pages, oil and gas investments. I had one of the largest telemarketing rooms in the United States. I've actually gone to court with the Federal Trade Commission that's so opposed to network marketing. And I had my day in court with them and I beat them. So I'm not afraid of those guys. But the moral of that story was simply that, you know, again, here's your opportunity. Understand what you got. Today I did a video. It's called How Does It Work? And the video today was it was kind of brought forth by conversations and other people. And I wanted to just bring it to the surface again. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And that's how it works. And when people see that they could get or do or have or experience something by being involved with whatever it is, they jump for it. Lock, stock, and barrel, no question about it. I found this with girlfriends. I found this with boyfriends and girlfriends. You know, you ever look at two people and said to yourself, how the hell did those guys get together? You know, they just don't look alike. One's short, one's tall, and one this way, you know, they're all kinds of different ways, but they're together. What was it? For whatever reason, they saw something that they then said, aha, this is it. This is for me. This is what I want to do. And that's what I observed from day one. Now, I've tried network marketing since 1975. I was first introduced to Amway in 1975, and I got a personal commendation from Rich and Jay for reaching the first level in that business in the shortest period of time on record. But I couldn't duplicate it. I couldn't figure out what I did. I made a mess, but didn't know how to clean it up and strategize for it. I went through 13 different companies. Then the last company I did was a company called Cleopatra's Secret, which was growing milk mold in your back bedroom. Now that one was a real stinker. to say it, to loosely to state it, but I came to the conclusion that network marketing didn't work. And then I got into Nikon by accident, not by choice, but then I found a true pro, somebody that knew how to build it, somebody that knew how it worked, somebody that knew what you had to do. And I just listened to him till the cows came home, and I just did exactly what he said to do. And then the rest is history. And then the other last point on this, Michael, that I would probably say is we're a business all about communication. That's all we do, is we communicate with other people. So I had a good friend, his name was Roy Armstrong, and he got involved with Nikon. He and I started business up in Canada, publishing business many years ago, but he was a true tin man. And by a true tin man, he loved to go door to door and sell. He sold vacuums door to door. He sold everything door to door, advertising door to door. He had his own public. So when I hooked up with him, he taught me that concept. I sold insurance door to door. So I learned that when you talk to somebody, they're not necessarily going to bite your head off. And if you can come up with an engaging conversation, I like what you said about Leo, and say, hey, do you know anybody that wants to retire in 3 years? I need to talk to somebody. I mean, if somebody said that to me, I'd say, what do you got? I mean, even now, I'd be curious to know what the hell this guy's got, because it's always nice to hear, better mousetraps and improve. So I always tried to improve on what I did. I always tried to make it better. And I ran into some unique situations that I took advantage of. The one key aspect that was my success was understanding structure and building depth with what Al taught me, called taprooting. And when I understood that concept, in 1982, I was involved with Herbalife. And in 1982, Mark Hughes was a pretty cocky guy who owned Herbalife. And he had a product called Guarana. And this product was a caffeine derivative, and you took Guarana and you were wired nicely, not drugged out or anything like that. Well, the FDA had a problem with that product. And Mark says, well, it's not a harmful caffeine derivative. It's very healthy for you, and it's good for you. And the FDA says, no, you got to put on the label that this is what it is, et cetera, because that's how the FDA operates. So Mark got pissed off and sued them. And he sued the FDA commissioner on Christmas Day. Well, politics. You never want to get involved in politics in any of these matters, because what that FDA guy did is, well, he just phoned his buddies and all of the newspapers, and Herbalife got wiped out in a day. Just one day. I had sponsored 119 people on my front line. I lost them all in one day. And I didn't have any security underneath them or a team. See, this is a team sport, guys. Really is. It's a team sport. It's not what you do, it's what your team does. I didn't get to the top by myself. I got there with a team. And it started one person at a time. And then the two of us got together, and then we got excited and we built a team, and then that's how it grew. And then I just duplicated that all the way down the line for a period of 8 or 9 years. But I think you get the message of that aspect. So that was my
you mentioned taprooting. If you could just give us like 3 sentences of what is the salient part of that. That's
okay. So if you look at the fundamental understanding of this business, it's when you see something underneath you, then you can get excited. So if you go out and sell a product, hey man, I got a product, I got a commission, this is neat, mailbox money. if you signed up a Mike DiMuccio, a Dave Rolfe underneath you, and they decided, boom, we're going to town, and they recruited an army, and all of a sudden you got $300,000 worth of volume and people going gold, silver, platinum all over the place. Oh man, you're getting real excited. Now, how about, okay, so I got a call from a guy by the name of Jim Ridley. I'll show you the taproot. Jim Ridley lived in Colorado. Jim was interested in the products for himself, and I started to talk to him about the business, and I sold him a demo and a career pack. So he introduced me to a guy by the name of Gordon and Jeannie Williams. Well, Gordon became a future Royal Diamond. He's dead now, unfortunately, and his wife's unfortunately got Alzheimer's, so not really participating anymore. But anyway, that was their story. Then Gordon introduced me to or introduced the business to a guy and his girlfriend, Rita. And so the guy came in, his name was John, and then he brought in his girlfriend, Rita. And then guess who Rita knew? Julie Tara. Julie and Bill Tara, my 5th level. Oh my God. This was, now they decide to go to town. Julie goes over to England, and she runs into a promotional guy that I don't know if she knew him or through their thing called Jack Black. In one event, they signed up 200 executives. One event. Just imagine that, for if you will, now that was down to my 6th, 7th, and 8th level. So I didn't see very much of that, but that didn't matter. So here I am up here on the 1st level. I got Jim, who's not really building the business, on the 2nd level, Gordy, who was building the business, and then John, and then Rita, and then Julie, and I can't tell you how many millions of dollars that made me over time, but that's called taprooting. So I worked at the bottom. That's where I worked. And that caused everybody up above to go all the time, because they were excited and they were getting stuff and everybody was motivated, and there's your motivation. So when you recruit somebody, I know Michael and I, we do talk all the time, and we are very much interested in helping the company tweak some stuff to make it more viable, more opportunistic, and more exciting to be a Niken distributor again. And the company is listening, and the company's doing things. But from that perspective, when you recruit somebody, get a piece of paper and a pen and just take a look at what if they signed up 6 people who signed up 6 people who signed up 6 people who signed up 6 people. Figure out how many people are in your potential pay zone, and they all do $500 a month, how much money you're going to make. I think you might get a little excited. I did. And that's what I looked at. And I said, oh my God. I mean, I remember one last thing, Michael. The first guy I ran into in 1975, and Jim Jantz. If you Google search Jim Jantz, he was one of the most successful Amway distributors, school teacher. He said, Dave, imagine this. Imagine you owned a Coca-Cola machine on every corner of every street, and every time somebody bought a Coke, you made a nickel. I was the only person in the audience, but I saw so many piles of nickels, I couldn't stand myself. I mean, I still can't get rid of that imagery. It's just so powerful. So if you get somebody, help them grow and expand, because that's your future. That's your future. I mean, I can't say it enough. That's your future. That's your future. Storyboard your career. Storyboard what you're going to do. Learn whatever you can. It's a business about communication. And for the sake of understanding, what I've tried to put together are all the points that you need to know and understand. How you put that together, that's up to you based on your circumstance. You might not be able to do it full time. You can only do it part time. You might not. You might speak French, and so you're handicapped because you speak French, like Leo. No, I'm. You can learn English, and whatever the case may be, because it's you have to figure out you. You have to figure out you, and that's probably the biggest problem, the biggest challenge. If I look at the people that are in this business, the success stories. I mean, Dr. Paul. I mean, talk about a great success story of a person that figured out himself and figured out how to make it go right. See, that was the deal, right? That was the whole deal. And like Richard Brooks says, it's like, do you want to be the 1% or the 99%? And so my mentor was a guy by the name of J.R. Ewing from Dallas. And I watched his show religiously, and I got, this is the final story, but I'm at an event. It's an expo. It's I think it was a company deal at Disney Anaheim, and a distributor in Nicon happened to be Larry Hagman's next door neighbor.
Mm.
So he told Larry about, I got on stage, my mentor is Larry Hagman and, J.R. Ewing and Dallas. And I had this whole mock-up. This was my story. Anyway, so Larry thought that was great. And I get a call from reception. Dave, there's a package down here for you. And I go down to reception. What's the package? It was a signed autographed picture of Larry Hagman. Congratulations, Dave.
Sweet.
So there are some prizes that are a lot of fun in doing this business, but by all means, go to town. I mean, kick ass, go do whatever you have to do. I mean, the prizes are so valuable. And anyway,
Well, thank you, Dave. I mean, you got a bunch of nuggets here, guys. I mean, there's a lifetime of experience embedded in all of this. And I hope what you come away with is this understanding of, okay, look, it is really simple. What is this business is about? It's about people. It's about communication. It's about tell your story, tell it well. It's about when you find somebody who grabs onto it, work with them, help them find somebody, and then help that person find somebody, then help that person find somebody. And what happens is you build inside of that a lot of excitement. When you have somebody on your team, you get more excited. Help them get somebody on their team, they'll get more excited and drive that down. And then you're going to get your Dooley Tars and your Dave Rolfes in your organization, where you won't be doing much except fanning their flames. So and where else can you build this kind of possibility without so much exposure? And you have one thing going for you: time. You have the time.
Michael, I need to ask you one question, which is very important. Do you willingly qualify every month, no matter what?
Absolutely.
See, that was the key realization back in the early 90s, was it was the need to qualify that created your long-term residual income. So if you built a team underneath you of a whole bunch of people that had to qualify because they had checks coming that they weren't going to throw away, you were made, as they say, you were a made man. So that was the key. So when you bring in somebody, you help them get to that point where they need to qualify because their business is that big. If you don't, it's vulnerable. Anyway.
Perfect. The need to qualify, vested interest. Hey, I know that book. I see, Connie, you joined this call. Do you got maybe 2 or 3 takeaways from your call tonight with, is she there? Did I lose her? Or was it Dee?
No.
Oh, there she is, Connie. There you go. Connie, you were on the call with Luis and
Yeah, well, I'm on
Richard?
I'm in his mentoring program.
Right.
Every Monday night meets for about an hour and a half, and he coaches people. They call in, they ask about different things, and he coaches them. And so sitting next to Richard Brook today was Luis, and so he was in Hawaii, obviously, and so he talked to Luis a little bit, and Luis, just was there as Richard was coaching different people. And you all have been coached, or most of you, by Richard at some point. He's been at conventions, the one in Toronto and so forth, when Bob Proctor was there. And he's terrific with keeping you enthused and giving you nuggets. But we have, in Dave and you, Mike, and Ben and others, we have such leaders in this company. It's just, it's fabulous. So he keep going. He did the Bob Newhart, Stop It. if you've ever seen that,
Oh,
which is hysterical. And as he was coaching this girl, and Luis was doubled over laughing at that. It's a very funny bit. If you haven't seen that YouTube of Bob Newhart, where he is a psychiatrist, and this woman has this horrible problem, and he says, okay, I'll only charge you $5. And I'll give you 2 words. And she says, oh, I'm afraid of being buried alive in a box. And he said, just stop it. Stop it, you know, and the whole thing. And it's a very funny bit. And Luis liked that. But he had, Richard Blissbrook had good things to say about Nikan. Michael, he has mentioned you more than once on different Monday night mentoring calls. You do it right. And so that was a takeaway tonight. It'd take too long to explain all that he does.
Terrific. Thanks for that. Thanks for filling us in. I'm really happy to see that Luis is getting that infusion of the authentic networker. I think that's what his main theme is. Perfect. Excellent. Anybody have a question for Dave? We got about 5 minutes left, so let's wrap on that. Come on, here's your chance. Don't be shy. This is it. Your brush with fame. Come on.
You know, Michael, I talk to these guys every Monday morning, so you know.
All right. Well,
we're preaching to the choir here.
okay. So I have a question for Dave.
Sure.
What drives you today, Dave, to be involved in NECAN?
You know, I owe so much to this company for what it allowed me to do as an individual that I want to pay back by, you know, besides the amount of money I make today from NECAN is not a whole bunch as it used to be, but it pays all the basics and I don't have to tap the assets. So that's motivation in itself. But no, I'm very grateful. And I now, I guess as a second aha for me in NECAN was member in a Team Diamond. I read the book, The Little Engine That Could.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, being on stage was even more fun than building a network. So I like the stage. I like to perform.
And you know, I've often argued that our A-type personalities are the promoters and the business builders who kind of get the thing going.
Yeah.
Who are let's call it the advanced crew that really build the fire and the momentum and the excitement. And one of the things that they really thrive on is being on stage, being out in the limelight. And I think when you build a stage for them, like we did with Team Diamond, for instance, that created such an attraction for people who could see themselves up there, that created the followings that they associated with. So keep that in mind as well. For those of you who are looking to recruit some big players, you need to put them in touch with some big players. You know, like Dave and myself, we know what it's like to be on a stage in front of 10, 15,000 people. We know the thrill that comes with that. And we know we can relate to somebody who has that kind of aspiration. Because what are we in the throes of doing now? We're creating community that eventually is going to spill onto stages again. And there's going to be those people who are at the front of the room doing their thing, because that's what comes with the following. So if we succeed at the vision of building NECAN and growing NECAN into that world-class organization with 10 million new followers, if we succeed, then that's going to be the consequence, is there's going to be a lot of people on stage. So, and big stages. So if we're doing this to succeed with that end in mind, then we need to attract those people and give them this platform. So it's sort of one hand feeds the other. And I imagine not that we're not going to succeed. I'm here working the way I work because I intend to succeed. I live with intention, and building my NECAN business is always with intention, with an end in mind. And the end in mind for me is to see those 10 million new faces in the Nikan community, and the rise of the Diamonds and Royal Diamonds, who were the reason this happened.
And you have 2 daughters.
And I have 2 daughters and a niece who have joined, and I see, I see a lot of the potential of this through their eyes. So with that, we're at 9:59, 1 minute before the hour. I'm going to say thanks, Dave, for popping in.
Oh, you're welcome,
and,
Michael. I
and
was
sharing.
totally by fluke that I jumped in to check this out. So
Oh
thanks for having
man,
me.
great fluke for us.
Yeah.
Awesome. And thanks everyone for joining. I'm pretty sure next week is not okay. So next week is still good. We'll see you next week. And if you like this video, share it. I'm going to post it as soon as we get off. I'll record it. The last week's recording, by the way, as you all know, was 2 parts, and I never got around to doing the edit on that. But I'll get to it and we'll release that as well. Anyway, Dave, where do they find you again?
The Smart Networker. The best way is daverolfe.com.
Okay, you got that. Everybody have a great night. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mike and Dave. Great call.
Yeah.